Right. We'll start with a brief introduction about JSW One Homes. So I work for JSW One Homes as a growth manager. Basically, what we do at JSW One Homes is we have created a platform for a one-stop construction solution. We work with the architects around the country on contract basis. So they don't have to work on our payroll. We have about 400 projects currently running around in about 13 cities, and we're always looking for architects to work with us. We also offer our contractual services to architects in all the cities we work in. Keeping that in mind, this is a platform that we have created for architects to come, speak, educate, and also help us understand what is happening in society. Keeping that in mind, architect Amrita Kishore from Cochin has agreed to be a speaker. I'm just going to give a brief introduction about her before she begins. First, I'd like to thank you for coming on board, ma'am. Is your speaker working?
Hi, Tushar. Yes, I can hear you.
So just a brief introduction. She is a REBA nominated architect. I hope I got that accreditation correct.
Yes.
Who specializes in climate responsive designs. Ma'am graduated from National Institute of Technology in Calicut in 2016. And she has worked in the UK at the Alan Joyce Architects. Post her return to India, she started Elemental. And from there on, I will let her take it. And today the topic is AI for architects. It's something that is a pressing matter across all industries. I too was very worried when ChatGPT had come on board. So we thought we should let architects know what is happening, and no one better than ma'am. So I'll let you take the floor.
Thank you, Tushar. So I'm just going to be starting by sharing my screen. Is it visible? Yeah, okay, perfect. So hi everyone, very good evening to all of you. Thank you for being here, and thank you very much to JSW One Homes for this opportunity. So I'll introduce myself first. My name is Amrita Kishore. I am an architect and the founder of the firm Elemental. We are specialists in what is known as climate responsive design. It's broadly speaking, sustainable design is a term that I think almost everyone in the industry is now familiar with. But what the way we approach it, sustainability can be approached in many different ways. The way we approach it is by using the terminology of climate responsiveness, right? So first of all, a disclaimer that I'm not a tech expert. I'm an architect running a firm, and I was always interested in this topic about AI for architects, about how things are going to be in the future, and what's going to make my work easier, or even otherwise. There's a lot of talk going on, like Tushar said, about whether or not are we all going to lose our jobs, what's going to happen. So I've been reading up about AI and how exactly it works in the architecture industry, and today I'm here to share my findings with all of you. Now, like I said, the question about whether or not AI is going to be taking our jobs, when we consider that, the answer is no, of course. But it's definitely going to change the day-to-day activities of an architect as we know it today. Now, I will start with this image of an architecture office in the 80s, in the 1980s. Now, if you look at it, it's very different from what architecture offices are today, right? Now, nobody spends so much time on drafting, correcting drawings. It's quite difficult for an architect today to imagine what life would have been working in an office in that era. And so in a way, if you look at AI, you can consider it like the new electricity. Now, once electricity was invented, a lot of things changed around the globe. The kind of work that happened changed. A lot of things became machine operated. So similarly, we are now undergoing a revolution of our time, and with the introduction of AI, right? So what you expect, what you see in an architecture office nowadays, like the kind of work that happens and what happens on a day-to-day basis is now going to change drastically, right? So I will start with this quote about how artificial intelligence is not a substitute for human intelligence. right? So you can't really replace a human with AI, but it is a tool to amplify human creativity and ingenuity. So basically, AI is now going to be like your new office assistant, like a new intern or a new secretary. There are different AIs to do different types of work. So the thing is, you need to figure out how exactly you're going to make it work for you, rather than, thinking of the fact that, okay, now what's going to happen and worry about it. It's always survival of the fittest. It's best to always keep yourself educated and know how exactly this is going to be helping architects. Now, what does an architect do? Now, most of us are already working in this industry. So architects do a lot of things, but broadly, I've classified it into three things. So the first pointer here is about creating visual and spatial concepts for buildings, right? And this happens after understanding the site context, what the client is looking at, what are their budgets, so on and so forth. The second task that I've split all of the work into is about creating drawings to convey building design concept that are used by construction teams on site and BOQs. So this is about coordinating many services, coordinating materiality, so on and so forth. And the third point is about coordinating work on site, right? Now the architect ensures that the work executed on site is in line with the design that was given, right? So what I've done right now is that the different, I've considered different, like I said, I've split the work of an architect into three, and I've put together my research on how these different softwares are present for doing different things. So first, when we consider the topic of spatial planning, I'm going to be giving a demo of this software called Architectures, right? It's a different spelling. So it's not architectures, it's architectures, right? And like what you can see here is this is going to be playing a part of it. So it's about how now we have softwares where you can enter the location of your project, right? And the coordinates and details of it automatically come on screen. And you can also enter your CAD file, right, of your site and what exactly comes in each of these points, right? So once these coordinates are in place, you can just press a button and the trees come up. So to know exactly what the context of your site is like. And then you enter your building models, right, to define your site plan. So this example, what they've shown in this video is about different residential buildings, right? So they're all apartment units. Oops, let's come off of it. Back to this part, yeah. So you enter that and you know what your site is like. You've got 3 apartment units that's coming up. Yeah. And then what happens to this is that you can see the model as it's like a BIM software, of course, but it's again, you can get into your building, you can adjust the different units, the core of your building. So currently at the moment, we're using regular drafting systems. What happens is that you need time to figure out, okay, what are each dimension, like, what's the dimension of each room? How should the opening be? All of that. But now AI is going to be doing that bit for you. So your job becomes more like a person, like an examiner, right? It's about understanding what works and what doesn't work, because AI, again, it runs on a lot of previously acquired information. It works through machine learning. So it's about understanding whether or not what they give, right? Is this product viable for this person's scope of, like, the client requirement, right? It's about understanding, okay, does this make sense or no? Because there's a lot of details that you're going to be getting, but it's up to you to now really judge, is this an appropriate solution, right? Because every solution you get will not work. And you also need to, in some particular softwares, prompt, okay, now this wall, maybe I can move it this side. So what's the impact that's got on the rest of the system? So you can see it, to what extent it's really going to be speeding up your work, right? So it's all about the process. Now, something that has been taking, let's say, 2 weeks to do, you can probably get it done in a day's time, right? Now, going on to the next software, this is another software called Spacio. And how it works is that you can import models from either Rhino or SketchUp, right, with the whole context. And then here you can again add your buildings. This software helps a lot with massing. And it's about really figuring out, how much of space you need to leave to kind of understand. You can also see this from a human perspective. And you can see how each unit adjusts itself, right? So you've already, and most of it, you can see that you can decide how much of the site needs to be used, what's the ground coverage, what's the density, how much of openness you need, and a lot more settings, right? So that's how it takes us, and the AI automatically comes up with a solution, but you've already fed in the number of rooms you need to make and all of that. So based on that, we can put these together and quickly make design decisions. Going on to the next one is another software called Finch, which is again quite similar. So most of these softwares have got some things overlapping. A part of it is, lots to do with site planning and so on and so forth. Same thing with room planning. So particularly in projects like apartments, schools, where there are repetitive units, this becomes very helpful. Now, this is what I think a lot of us are very familiar with when we say AI for architects. These are renders done by the software called Midjourney. Now, what happens in Midjourney is that it's a prompt operated software, right? So you need to download this chat software called Discord, and Midjourney comes as a plugin, like an AI plugin for Discord. Okay, and there are many ways of using this. So one way of doing it, if it's just about visualizing projects, you can see the quality of output that you get through Midjourney. It's very photorealistic. It's all about entering the right keywords. You need to enter something like, for example, the image on the right. You need to put up something like parametric build form with a forest feel or something of that sort. But it's all about writing the correct tag, exactly the right keywords. And every time you feed in a few keywords, they'll give you like 4 options, and you got to select what you like, what is most matching your thought, what you like the most from that, and then you can keep adding keywords and editing it. So this is for a very broad concept. Right now, it's never like we saw in Spacio and the other tools. It's never very site based. Or what you can do is, in fact, you can actually import models from SketchUp or Rhino, all of that, take an image out of it, and Midjourney can help get the right output. Only thing that is on a 2D basis, right? It's not exactly a 3D image. It's fully changing. Anything in 2D, you can easily edit it on Midjourney. So this is a demo of what I said. You can enter. So these are 4 images that have been obtained after adding building made out of free-flowing fabric in the desert. So you can pick what you like out of it, and then you can go on to seeing, right, okay, I want to edit any one of them. So that's what I was talking about. And this is another great tool. Midjourney also has the capacity to merge images, right? So you see one space here on the left and another space in the middle, and you merge it with the merge command on Midjourney. And what happens is that you can see another photorealistic space here on the right, which is a very, very interesting way of combining image 1 and image 2. So one thing that I personally liked experimenting with is that if you take a screenshot from, let's say, SketchUp, and you have another image of the sort of background and the sort of feel you want that building to have, you can probably just merge these 2 images and then see what sort of interesting solutions come up. Nowadays, a lot of softwares are also trying to get AI integrated. Even the Adobe Creative Cloud. Now on Photoshop also, they have a new AI tool, right? So if it's an image like this, you can probably just mark it out on the new Creative Cloud. It works only on Creative Cloud. And say that, okay, I want a person to be here facing the bookshelf, right? You can just type that out in the right prompts. Like once you try 2-3 times, you can kind of tell what's the right way to do the prompts. And with that, you can get a solution. You can actually get a person here, right? So earlier that used to be a long task. You need to find the right person, right photograph from the internet. You need to put it there, scale it into the right space. But now all of that happens automatically. Now, this is another software called Veras, which is actually a plugin on SketchUp. So you can see how this works. Basically, you have a SketchUp model, and then you have a user prompt again. You're supposed to put it together. Here, the prompt these people have used here is high-end rendering of modern building with undulating wood facade and glass curtain wall. So you see that immediately you just press render and this is what you get. And similarly, like in SketchUp, you can just adjust your building the way you want it to. And then you can press render again and you see the result that comes within seconds, right? So this works somewhat like Enscape, like it works parallelly along with your SketchUp model. So if you want to create any projections, any edits to it, you can always find interesting solutions that come up on this. We'll just see this one also. Right, so here they've considered. So another thing, what I have realized is that if you're not sure how exactly to make the prompts, you can always use ChatGPT, right? So all the new AI softwares, they can all sort of support each other. So now they're rendering something called high-end rendering of stack container. So you see the very interesting solution that they've come up with. Similarly, for interiors, you can use similar solutions. Now going on to the next one. So we're specialists in what's known as climate responsive design, what I said earlier. Now, in the sustainability space, what we can do with softwares right now, lots like softwares which I was familiar with earlier were Sapphire Pro and IESVE. But now there's something called Cope tool that has come out. It works very similarly, but basically you can model the masses, right? Like in the example you can see here, even for academic projects, it's quite useful. And then you need to like select each floor, and here they're showing the amount of daylight that comes in, right? Then they show the radiation levels. There are different, there's a lot of data you can get from this. So similarly, you need to kind of like edit your models to kind of see what's the solution that you get, right? But how it differs from Sapphire is that you're able to really try out the different options. It suggests solutions for you, and you can try it out in real time and not model it separately and then it comes later. So then this is another software that I've come up with, and this helps in generating drawings. It's called Swap. And how I see it happening is basically you upload a Revit model, right? And now you need to drop in your Revit file, and there's a whole list of drawings that you need to generate, and it does it really quickly, right? Like currently, yes, on Revit, you do get all the information, but it's just that the whole process is a lot more structured and it's just making your job a lot easier. Software is called Swap. So as you might realize, most of it is either plugins or it's just, quick add-ons to something we've already been using. So it's not like figuring out what to do from scratch. A lot of it is just integrating these new tools into what we're already using to make our work a lot easier. Going on to the next one. So this is something that I came across, and it's something quite interesting. It's something that I haven't really seen much, or something I hadn't really thought of about before figuring out how exactly, like before this, most of the other tools I'd come across it at different points because it's directly connected to, okay, how do you design with AI, right? So now as I was preparing for this presentation, I came across this very interesting tool called OnSite IQ, right? And what exactly it does is that it works as a site supervisor. So how exactly, I'll just take a look at this video, what's there on screen. So basically what it does is that when construction is happening, you get to monitor your projects from anywhere, right? And it does like immersive 3D documentation to kind of automatically track the process. And then it's also able to show you what percentage of your work is done and also monitor, like it's obviously camera operated. So, and you can get 360-degree views of your site and how exactly things happen. So it's about checking out how much percent of the work is over, are safe construction practices happening on site. And yeah, that's the purpose of this, right? Another one that I'd like to go to. Okay, now this is another one that I came across quite recently. There is a company by by Alphabet, that is Google's parent company, that is called Sidewalk Labs. And what exactly they do is they have 3 types of softwares. So far, I believe they'll be developing a lot more. The first one is called Mesa. Second one is called Pebble, and third one is called Delve. I'll tell you what each of these does. Now, Mesa is all about spatial comfort, and this is basically after construction, right? For example, in an office building, you get to plug in these, they look like little Wi-Fi dongles. You have to plug into each room. So everybody in that particular space has this app on their phone that is about Mesa, and it helps you to put in whether or not you're comfortable in that temperature. A lot of Indian offices, what we see here is that they'll all be centrally air conditioned. It's quite hot outside, so when people come in, it's way too, a lot more colder than you would expect. And then people end up wearing sweaters just inside the office. So that, again, there's a bit of the human comfort factor that is overlooked in a lot of office buildings. So if everybody in the room votes, or rather puts in an input about, okay, this room is a little too cold or this room is a little too warm, this AI system automatically adjusts the temperature settings, right? So when you consider an entire building, the amount of energy used, this optimizes it. Now, the second app is called Pebble. And what Pebble does is, again, they have these sensors in public parking areas. And through your map and Google Maps, whatever is integrated, you get to see, okay, where is your next parking space available, like in any public area. The third software that they have is called Delve, and this is, again, very useful when it comes to, master planning. And most of it, it has a lot of functions, like there is energy analysis, there is spatial analysis, and there is also a lot it's also good for feasibility study, right? So whenever it comes to bigger projects, feasibility is one of the most important parts of it. The finance team always wants to know if it's fitting our budget, what are the long-term costs going to be like. So softwares like Delve are very helpful in this one aspect. So now we go back to what I started with about what does an architect do. And we saw a few examples of how AI can help out with the different tasks an architect does. And my next topic is about what does AI not do, right? And most of these, as you can see in the different font that's come up. So I'm just going to read out a bit for you. The first one is about creating a visual and spatial concept for building. So about speaking to clients to understand their tastes, understanding what changes they need and why. So it's all about the personal interaction, about the human touch. The second one is about, in the second stage, it's about discussing about clients, about what's on their priority list, where to cut down to meet the budget. The third one is about explaining each detail to the contractor on site, about collaborating data from structural engineers and contractors on site, then about taking critical decisions on site. So these are just a few points. I'm sure there are a lot more, but as we have a limited amount of time, just thought I'd put a few of it together. Now, as you can see, most of these factors really need that human touch. Like there's a lot of space where AI really can speed up our work, but at the end of the day, there are a lot of things which are like more qualitative rather than quantitative. And it's all about understanding, it's all about empathy, it's about figuring out what works for somebody and what doesn't. And at this time in 2023, AI has not gone that far yet. And I wonder if it ever will, because that would mean to really understand how the human mind works. And that is still something that is still not, every human mind works differently. So it's very difficult to get that in place with machine learning. So that's what AI does not do. And this is another slide that I came across, and it shows about the evolution of the role of humans, right? So let's say 100 years back, work was primarily with our hands, right? So most of the labor out there is about working with your hands. Now then, after the evolution of machines, all the work started moving towards working with our brain, right? So now in the data era, this is very, very prominent. Now, right now we've got AI systems developing. So a lot of working with our brain, you can see how things have been made a lot easier. So now it's all going to go towards working with our heart. Things like empathy, things like what do you say? Understanding the more humane factors are all going to gain more and more prominence. In fact, that's going to be a luxury product from now on. So that's how work is starting to move towards. And another quote that I came across about how artificial intelligence is no match for human stupidity. Now, this is very true in terms of like a lot of issues that architects face on site, or rather with clients. A lot of things are misunderstandings based on somebody's preconceived knowledge, right? And it might take a long time, a lot of delays on site, all of that to convince somebody that, okay, no, this is supposed to be like this because of so and so reason, right? So new challenges and new problems are going to keep coming up, and that's just the way the world works. So we're always going to have to be there to solve these problems. So about our AI going to be taking our architecture jobs? The answer is no. But are architecture jobs going to change? The answer is yes. And that brings us to the end of today's presentation. I'd like to hand over the screen to Tushar.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. It was pretty interesting in the last line. Shilpa, if we can start with the Q&A, and there's a survey at the end of it, so I'll let you take it.
All right. We can start with the questions from the audience. If you guys have any questions, you can raise your hands and you can ask it. Yes, Anuradha, you can ask that question. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi there. I'm Anuradha. I'm also an architect. And
Hi,
I'm
Anuradha.
yeah, hi. Yeah, actually, I'm working since 2006, we can say. I passed out in 2005.
Okay.
So now I see there are so many changes happening in our field, no doubt. So I just wanted, I'm just wondering that how these tools can help us for these green building things.
Right.
Like, yeah. So what is happening these days? I mean, how I practiced with other consultants and all was like everybody was working in different softwares, right?
Okay.
So my job was like to coordinate with every person.
Right.
So how can we do it with ease with a single software?
So that I'm not sure yet, like, because I don't know if there's one software which is useful for coordination. I do know that there are a lot of softwares which can help with project management. So I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for. If it's about coordinating, let's say ABC points and then figuring out whether or not it works. I guess it all depends on the line of work really. Like, I'm not sure if any of the softwares I just mentioned will work for coordination, but I'm sure there are a lot of management softwares out there. Like, let's say monday.com, or what else can I suggest? There's another software called, I forget its name. Basically, there are a lot of management softwares where you can get people to enter in like their findings, right? So that you can get it all collected on one page. Like, what my team uses is a software called Slack. It's not exactly an AI software. It's just a tool to make management easier. So if you're able to kind of do a little bit of research on what exactly what do you say? What exactly, like, or do you want to explain it a bit more to me about so is it that you have a consultant for lighting, a consultant for, let's say, HVAC, and you coordinate all of that? Is that what you're trying to say?
Actually, what happens, what I experienced is that we were working on one project and we completed our model in Beam, like
Okay.
in a Revit software, right?
Yeah.
And
right.
after that, our consultant for green building,
Mhm.
they were working on that model,
Okay.
and somehow we need some, I mean, certifications for the
Right.
building,
Right.
you know,
Right. Like
uh,
lead or Griha or
directions, sunlight,
Yeah.
and how much sunlight is covering in the daytime, in the nighttime, how what will be the requirement for the electricity and all.
Right. Right.
That
So,
was quite time consuming for
uh-huh.
everyone. So
Okay.
somewhere if you get an error in a Revit model,
Uh-huh.
it will change the entire, I mean, it will repeat the entire process.
Right. So
Yeah.
in the presentation today, I had mentioned a tool called CoveTool.ai, CoveTool, right? And it works as a Revit plugin.
Right.
So
That's what
maybe
I,
you can take a look at that. Maybe
okay.
that can help you.
Okay.
Or mostly what I do when I think that, you know, because what I honestly believe is that there are always a lot of tools out there to really make work easier. So sometimes just, you know, Googling and looking through YouTube videos in detail might help you, because there are so many tools out there and
Yeah,
I
true,
don't know
true.
all of them. But I
Yeah.
think maybe Cove tool, what I showed in my presentation,
Yes.
might work for that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys can also write your questions in the Q&A or the chat. Om Kumar, you can ask your question.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought I'll ask that. I think I'm the only non-architect here. So I just wanted to see from the consumer's side, are there, because most of the time what I feel is that, the consumer has a lot of ideas. So this, for the iteration, are there any kind of tools,
For
the combinations of, many times one is we cannot be articulate in telling about, each of these concepts in the space. So,
Okay.
so that, it makes the job of the architect also easier, no?
Yes, there are actually a lot of tools like that. So for example, I mentioned two today called Architectures, ARCHI, TECH, TURES, is a tool like that. Now the thing is, but again, as an architect, what I'd suggest, usually what happens in a lot of cases is that the customer, like let's say the client, might not be an architect. And often what architects do, like at least in my firm, how it works is that after listening to the client and like getting them to fill up our questionnaire, we come up with one solution. And then based on that one solution, we work on, you know, we work out, like when the client gives in their comments about, you know, these things are what.
Tweaking onto that one particular solution. Only tweaking based on that one particular solution only you will be working at, modifying.
That's usually how we do it. And I believe most architecture firms work that way. And the reason is because the architect would have already tried out, let's say, 3 to 4 options to kind of figure out that, okay, this is what would be best, right? But maybe initially, and there are a lot of reasons for that, because it's not just the layout that is what matters. There are also a lot of things like how does the space feel, and then, you know, how do you walk, how do you feel, how the volumes work and all of that. But with softwares like Architectures and Finch, 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 there is a way to really, what do you say? It's possible to look at different options and maybe even discuss it with your clients. It's something that can be done quite quickly now. Like earlier, making one option might take, let's say, 2 working days. But now you're also able to get like 2 or 3 options quickly with the softwares. Yeah. So maybe that will also change. Like you said, maybe the probability of having these options in front of the clients becomes a lot more quicker now.
Yeah. No, what I another thing which I found is that, say, if a client says that, for example, a parking space of, I'm just blindly saying, 500 square feet.
I'm sorry, you're not very audible. It's
Okay,
quite
can you hear me?
soft. It's a bit faint. That's the problem.
Okay, I'll speak loudly. Now is it okay?
Yeah, much better. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I was asking is that sometimes, say, if a client says that I want 500 square feet parking space.
Okay.
Now, as far as an architect is concerned, she or he will have to go through a lot of, organically arranging things and seeing it, right? But
Right.
they can easily then find all the constraints and all the things. What mostly happens is that this 500 square feet is initially told that this will reduce room, or this will not take the load. Different aspects are brought, but that
Right.
way the architect can find that that optimal solution very fast. No need to use their brain.
Yeah, you're right about that. Now with these softwares, like for example, Delve, which is by Sidewalk Labs, which is by Alphabet, that is easily possible. About, let's consider a parking layout, right? Now, parking layout, it's only about figuring out what's the maximum turning radius and how many parking spaces will fit in there. So that kind of thing can be done really, really quickly now. You're right on that.
And better solutions can come.
Yeah. Maybe 2 or 3 options also can be easily printed out to be discussed or presented to be discussed. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, Jatinder, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Am I audible?
Hi, Jatinder. Yes, you are.
Okay. So first of all, I must say it was a very interesting presentation. So thank you so much for that. So I am basically, in the profession of, I would say, facilitating the teaching learning process in architecture for almost 26 years now.
Wow.
And I was really curious on what AI would be doing for me. Okay. So I am actually worried to a certain extent, right? Like most of us, we are. Okay. So as an old school person, okay, so who has worked manually, on the drawings for all those years, right? Now, my concern is, do you think, following, using all these tools and techniques, are we kind of moving or treading on a path of global uniformity where everything is similar? So we people have been talking about the humankind as such in these days is kind of moving towards what we say universal DNA also. Everybody will be looking similar, having a similar DNA after maybe 1,000 of years. So is architecture also, going in that direction? So that is one of my worries, right? So are we thinking of a future where architecture would be directly linked to giving certain textual commands for a design solution? So what is your take on that?
Well, I feel honestly, my take is that now, even let's say 5 years back when AI wasn't as developed, a lot of buildings, particularly in urban locations, if you take the buildings in, let's say, Gurgaon, and let's take the buildings in, let's say, what city do I suggest? Maybe London or another one in Toronto. It all looks very similar, right? And that is automatically happening, not because of the softwares that's happening, but because the architects are not taking a conscious effort to separate that out, right? Now, it's not only because of the tools available, right? It's the mindset of the people that kind of says that, okay, this is a good option and this works, right? Now, even with AI, what I feel is that there is a room to make it move in any direction you wish. For instance, when you enter a prompt, right? Let's say that, okay, I want a 20-story tall tower, and I wanted to have these elements from this building. Let's take the Qutub Minar, for example, and I want it to be made of this material, right? And so it can very well be a derivative of historic architecture in India, but the architect who's working on it has to take a conscious effort into making that happen. Right. So are we all moving towards a universal, similarity? Yes, we are, but we need to kind of pull ourselves out of that. Right. So I think particularly in the education industry, as you're in the education space, I think like you're a person who can make a lot of influence, who can really throw the seeds for this kind of thought amongst the architects of tomorrow.
No, I think AI can be a very interesting, I would say, field of exploration. So if we can use it somehow to quantify the intangible part of architecture. So quantifiable is fine. I mean, most of us, we are looking at the inputs from AI for probably designing the spaces, I mean, in a certain way, right? So we are kind of saying that it is going to probably help us in taking design decisions, I mean, quickly, or maybe it will be making the changes in the drawings very quickly. But what I feel is very important is like if AI can be somehow used to understand the psychological impacts of architecture. So that would be really interesting, because that is something that we are not able to evaluate. I mean, so even I mean, interactions with the clients and all, na? So it happens at a very, I would say, primary level. Right. And we are not able to actually take inferences which are helpful in our future designs. So since you are an enthusiast working in this field, probably if you can think of, I mean, so how we can, I mean, so leave the tangible part. I mean, everybody will be doing it. So let us focus on the intangible part, and if it makes a difference for the society, right?
Yes, 100%.
But thank you so much. But it was a thought-provoking session, I would say. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you, Jagdeep. Yeah. For the paucity of time, we'll stop taking questions now. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us or Ms. Amrita Kishore. And thank you, Amrita. This was a very insightful session. We are very happy to have hosted you and hope to connect with you and all the audience in other sessions in the future. We have an exit survey. Hope everybody can fill that as well. So you can have a thank you notice.
Right. Thank you. Feel free to reach
Thank you so
out
much,
at
ma'am.
LinkedIn too.
Thank you so much, everybody.
And, yeah. Thank you. Bye.